Everybody people, everybody bleed, everybody needs some.
I've never been a big fan of Logic. It's not hatred or anything overblown like that. I think he's a very capable, commendable, talented, skilled hip-hop artist, and I kind of think that if you're going to deny that skill, you're kind of an idiot. He's just never made anything that's completely stood out to me. His new release, Everybody, though, might be one of his more compelling albums in a while, because Logic is very socially conscious on this record. He tackles race, discrimination, privilege, empowerment, mental health, and more on what might just be his most mature and substantial album yet. I really think that the album's overall message is trying to promote positivity and non-violence. Things do get very ambitious when he pushes that message forward. There are very long tracks on here, tracks that address Logic's biracialism, being born to a white mother and a black father, and how he was an artist that faced discrimination on both sides. It's also the album that is trying to represent the viewpoints of many people, hence the album title, Everybody. Conceptually, this idea is extremely intriguing, but it's really down to the framing of the concept and the musical execution, because it is a music review that determines whether the album is good or not. Because if you do present it in an unlikable or obnoxious manner, then it's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, regardless of how important you feel the message is. And he sort of pulls it off. I think the biracial perspective was a really interesting point to explore, even if it becomes a very overplayed topic. And that's the thing, this album retreads ground it had already walked on previous tracks. There are also tracks here that don't add anything to the message of the album, or the narrative, or the story, like Blot with Juicy J, which has no lyrical substance on an album that is mostly meant to be lyrically substantial. The waiting room skit was completely unnecessary given its length. I'm just trying to get some of my gripes out of the way before I deal with some of the stuff I did like about this album, because there were plenty of things I did like about this album. The track America has a bit of an obnoxious hook, though very catchy, but you know, the idea of having to repeat over it again, yo, I'm real as shit, I'm real as shit, I'm real as shit, it's just a little over the top, I must say. However, my biggest gripe with Everybody lies with the song about the suicide hotline. I'm not once questioning the authenticity of Logic's passion behind the song. He definitely sounds like he wants to get a message out there regarding depression, suicide, anxiety, and getting help, most importantly. I don't once question the sincerity of handling the subject matter. It's just the way he did it. The song just sounds like it's begging you to feel something with those strings and those multiple guest vocals just tearing at your heartstrings. Logic's tragic moment here is his ad-libs, though. During the hook, he decides to ad-lib with, "Who can relate? Woo!" which just completely breaks the mood of the track.
It feel like my life ain't mine. Who can relate? Woo!
Let's talk about some of the good stuff that this album did. The track Confess, featuring a great speech from Killer Mike at the end, just has so much charisma and so much soul. I just think it's probably my favorite track on this album. Towards the end, you have Anziety and AfricAryaN, which are some of the heaviest and most ambitious tracks in terms of their subject matter, their length, and just how they handle the subject matter. I just think Logic tackled things like race, discrimination, anxiety, personal struggles very well. The hooks on this album, very good. They do click, they're not vapid. The track Take It Back is this very long-winded storytelling where Logic just tells the story of his own struggles and integrates it into his coverage of discrimination, once again, race. It might be retreading the same ground, but it is a very compelling track if you're willing to listen to that story, because it's very long, the beat carries on and on and on, but Logic keeps the momentum alive with the hook. Take it back, take it way back, take it way, way back, take it way, way back when. This is an album that I enjoyed at first, but as I listened to it more and more, I just continued to find more flaws. I still stand by the fact that it is one of Logic's most compelling albums to date, but in terms of how he handled some of these topics, they can be seen as corny, they can be seen as very over the top, a bit obnoxious at times, although I do admire all the ambition that went into it. I still think Everybody has its merits, but it also has its flaws. 6 out of 10.